On that.
Just bind her up.
I just now did.
Yeah.
So, Mark wanted me to.
Bird, I saw Jason picked up another line in his bike shop.
Wish I could recognize him.
Were they a truck dealer then?
There he is.
Yeah. Just don't. He has the city manager.
Oh, really?
Can't tell if that's her husband or that's Wendell. He's chronic,
You want to come back?
if I remember him right.
Well, I know John's having a lot of inventory issues. So, Giant. Yeah, they're having a ton of. They make it
Right here,
themselves.
Venice now.
Yeah.
Okay, when we was at
they
TML, she has a twin. Because both Mark and I both know her.
Yeah, well, his rep is one of my good friends. Yeah, we race motorcycles together. So that's why I want the bikes I have for John is because of him. So, but yeah, I hear about a lot of the
Or
inventory
I guess
issues
he's
they've had
here
and
to
so
pick
forth.
the kids, right?
But
The girl with the
Yeah.
kinky hair with sunglasses, she's in the
yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Welcome, everybody, all of you. Full house tonight. There is a lot on the agenda, so I'd like to ask you to silence your phones, and let's start with the invocation, and Pastor Little is going to offer that for us. Please stand.
Would you bow your heads with me, please? Great and mighty God, thank you for another wonderful day. Complaining begins where thanksgiving ends. Help us to always be thankful. Help us to be grateful for everything that you've done. Thank you for a beautiful day that you've given to us today. You loaded this day with blessings that we probably haven't even stopped to consider yet, but they were there. And for that, we say thank you. Now, the best way that we can honor you, God, is to make sure that we totally and completely yield our lives, our hearts, our desires to you. I know of a scripture that indicates that in days that we live in like these, that there would be times that everyone will do what's in their own heart, the way they see things their own way. And that's the human nature thing to do. But wisdom, Lord, would indicate that we would unite together under your vision and do things your way. So would you allow us to unite under the banner of love? And would you allow us, God, to have good decision making tonight for the purpose of this great city and all of its citizens? I ask you to bless these proceedings tonight. May they honor you. We thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we have a full house tonight because we have a small presentation. We'd like to take a moment of your time to present. Get out here where Barbara can get a picture. Tonight we would like to present Mr. Richard Bradley an award. If you'll come forward. Representative David Spiller, Cindy Roller from the executive, the VIII Community Development Board, and the VIII Community Development Board members. If you would all come forward, I'd like to make this presentation.
Just take your time.
Have we confused you yet? Have we confused you yet?
I'm not sure what.
Okay, we would like to present to you tonight from the Texas Historical Commission, the Texas Treasure Business Award. The Bradley Jewelers, which is family-owned and operated in Texas since 1913, for exceptional contributions toward the economic development and prosperity of Texas and its historic building. This is from the state of Texas. That's your first one.
Okay.
Your second one, we'd like to... No, I owe you. Your second one is a proclamation from the city of Bowie.
Okay.
We would like to, proclamation reads that Bradley's Jewelers Texas Treasure Business Award, whereas the Texas Treasure Business Award program pays tribute to businesses that have provided employment opportunities and support the state's economy for 50 years or more. Whereas Bradley's Jewelers, located at 214 North Mason Street, has been a staple of the community since 1913. You'll have to tell us about that. Now, whereas the Texas Historical Commission presents this award to Bradley's Jewelers for the exceptional contributions toward the economic growth and prosperity of Texas and its historic buildings, and whereas the city of Bowie would like to extend our appreciation to Bradley's Jewelers for their presence and contributions to our community.
State of Texas for acknowledging the independent businesses that we have in Bowie. And I want, on behalf of my grandfather and grandmother, and my father and my mother, and my wife and I thank you.
Thank you. I would like to acknowledge Cindy. Cindy has been the greatest addition to the city of Bowie. She made this happen. And she really, really supports our downtown business owners. So this is her board, parts of her board. They also work with her to make sure that these things happen. And I know she's been coming to you a lot lately, and you're wondering, what is going on? So this is what's going on. But I want to thank Cindy for all her hard work and the city of Bowie, and most of all you. Okay, I think at this time, since we have the EDC board, and I forget which one is here for it. Janice, 4A or 4B? 4A or 4B?
The Economic Development A,
Type A Corporation is here. And we are going to move into executive session at this time with them. Do you want to do the update before?
I can.
Do you want to do that? Okay, so then we'll come over to the podium and we'll go there first.
Okay. So you want me to talk about the EDA grant, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That's where we're at on the agenda, sorry. When I'm standing out in the hallway, I can't hardly hear, but let me say congratulations, yay. We received the EDA grant, which is the Economic Development Administration grant, in the tune of $1,460,000. What that means is that when we made application for this grant about a year and a half ago on behalf of the Type A Corporation, the Type A Corporation went to the Type B Corporation and asked if they would contribute with some funds that would help us get across the threshold with this grant application. And so, fortunately, both corporations have included $300,000 out of their budget, and that money is now a total of $600,000 that goes along with that $1.4 million, which is a little more than $2 million that we will have. And so what we're going to use those funds for is, in accordance to the guidelines that's put out by EDA, we are going to widen Gardner Road. We're going to have to move and reinstall the water line and the sewer line. And then we're going to build a 10,000 square foot speculative building. So, and what that means is it's a 10,000 square foot facility that we can use to attract primary manufacturing type jobs to our community.
Fabulous. Fabulous.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for all the hard work that goes
Thank you
along
all.
with that.
Thanks for allowing us to do that.
Thank you. All right, so at this point, we're going to slip off to the conference room for an executive session, so I will call this at whatever time you, 6:06. Yes.
We don't need this computer.
Okay. Okay, we're going to call this meeting back to order at 6:32. And we're going to come out of executive session with an action. So I would entertain a motion to
Make a motion to accept the letter of intent by and between Master Tech and the Bowie Economic Development Corporation regarding project 2021-0824CB, otherwise known as Project Bronco.
Do I have a second for that motion?
I'll second.
Second, Bates. Higgins?
Aye.
Bates?
Aye.
Heffley?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Bell?
Aye.
And Gunner.
Aye.
Okay, we have a unanimous vote to accept the motion to accept the letter of intent for Master Tech. We appreciate very much for your work. So I will just make an announcement that the spec building that Janice just brought to our attention will have a tenant. So it's no longer considered a spec building. So this is a great opportunity for our city, great new business. Thank you very much. We appreciate your work. And I know you gentlemen have other things you want to do tonight, so you're welcome to leave without offending us.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's get back to the normal order of business. Let's start first with the city manager report.
I can do it.
Let's help you.
My city manager report has grown, so I'm going to get several pieces of paper here. The week before the mayor and new council members went to TML meeting, I attended the Association of Rural Communities in Texas annual meeting in Lakeway, which is north of Austin. I was appointed to the board of ARCIT to help the organization grow. The primary function of ARCIT is to lobby the Texas state government to make sure that any legislation that is passed does not harm rural communities. We had a great 3 days of programs of interest, and by visiting with other appointed elected officials from across the state and see how they solve problems is a great learning experience. As time goes by, I will make some suggestions on how we can utilize some of the things I learned. Later on in the agenda, we'll have a section about the opioid settlement, whereby money is available from the state of Texas. And a lot of people from the Texas Attorney General's office were there, and I knew about this opioid settlement, but I didn't think that I wanted to do it because it's kind of hard to figure out what you can and can't do with the money. But I was assured by employees at the Attorney General's office that they could help us figure out ways to use the money from the settlement. Our share should be $83,000 in change, and so that's the things that we can use to combat opioid problem. Starting with our new budget year, I've instituted an asset management program whereby we gather information about our major assets, from computers to backhoes to dump trucks, etc. We do an analysis of asset age, condition, and recommended useful life, and determine what equipment to put in our budget from year to year. All departments will be involved in this process, which we will make putting together the budget next year and years thereafter a lot easier. As I told you before, I've been working with the Honeywell company in a program that they have to find ways to make our facilities more efficient by doing things such as replacing HVAC equipment, large electric motors, and monitoring our HVAC temperatures and off hours. This initial analysis has cost us nothing, but in the next meeting or two, I will bring you an agreement letter from Honeywell in order for them to bring in an engineer to do a thorough analysis of our equipment and facilities. The engineer, will identify equipment programs that we can do in order to save money. I have given them a payout time of 5 years, which means that if we replace something, it may save us enough money to pay for the new item in 5 years or less. Honeywell will come and make a presentation to the council, and the council will decide whether to go forward or not with the program. It will be your choice. On the agenda, you will be considering proposals from 2 audit firms. I will speak on my choice for the audit firms and the reason for my choice when the proposals are brought up. I would hope that you will understand my choice and the reason for it and decide to go that direction. I've been busy reviewing resumes over the last 3 weeks for the position of finance director. In fact, I've offered the position to 2 people who decided not to take the job for various reasons, of which the salary was not one of the reasons. I currently have 2 resumes of people that I'm considering, and I will schedule interviews with them as soon as possible. Hopefully, we will find a well-qualified person very soon. I have asked Carrie to sit in on the interviews so far, and she has been a big help in picking the right person for the job. Kirk Higgins has been going through the process of helping and applying. Kirk's done most of the work for a FEMA mitigation grant for emergency generators for our facilities. We're asking for generators for City Hall, which houses the EOC, the community center, which is the alternate EOC, and community shelter, the wastewater plant, the water plant, our high service pumps, our lift station. et cetera, et cetera. The total application is probably $888,000. It is our understanding that not very many cities are applying for these grants, so our chances of success are good. I got an email from the Texas Water Development Board. They acknowledge that they received our environmental information. I'll read it to you. The EID information downloaded without difficulty. I scanned it quickly, and all required components appear to be present. However, it will be 30 to 60 days before we complete a formal review. If we have questions, we'll contact you. Which is by way of saying, I told y'all it's going to be a long time before we start turning dirt on that program, but they're just now going through the environmental review. So that's one of the things that I wanted y'all to know about. The next thing is I got an email from our engineering firm that handles our electrical engineering, Snyder Engineering, and I knew this was coming, but I didn't know exactly how it was coming. But anyway, the ARCIT is, because of the big freeze, they're faced with a lot of market-based conditions from the big freeze and all the upload money that was available. In other words, like, the city of Bowie suffered a $1.2 million loss during that deal. We decided to absorb it, not pass it on to the citizens or our customers. But basically what ERCOT is asking us to do is either opt in or opt out, what they call securitization, which is basically if we opt in, every year we will have to pay a certain percentage of our electric cost to our supplier for them to pay into ERCOT to pick up the tab on other people's loans. Well, since we were able to pay for our own, it looks like we're probably going to opt out. Opt out would be, in other words, if there's another big freeze and we have a big loss, we're just going to do it again, suffer just like we did before. We'll pay it and go on. If we opt in, we're going to have to pay interest every year for the notes plus a certain fee. And it comes out on our fee to about 49 cents a megawatt hour, which adds up over time. So at any rate, I will be bringing a proposal to the council for y'all to make the final determination before we opt in or opt out on that. So, and that's good news. That means that ERCOT's moving along and whatnot. In your packet, you have our projected street repair budget for 2022. Anybody got any questions about that? As Tony said, he picked the worst streets that we have right now and is planning on doing over a mile of paving if the weather holds well and everything works out all right. Any questions?
No questions for Stoney because it's not actually an item on the agenda, but he did present you a list in your packet. It's at the bottom of your information. Do you want to speak, Stoney? Okay. He didn't want to if y'all don't want to. It was pretty self-explanatory. It tells you exactly which streets he's starting with. As you all know, that plan changes as the water leaks change. All right, then let's move on to consent agenda items. We have the minutes from the September 27th meeting. We have the write-offs from utilities, and we have the write-offs from the library. And I know that utility write-off seemed a little exorbitant this month, but if you'll notice, that's the hospital. And that should be the last of our losses from the last hospital owner. So I would entertain a motion to accept all items as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Love. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Higgins?
Aye.
Bell?
Aye.
Bates?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Gunner?
Aye.
And Heffley.
Aye.
Thank you. Old business is on the agenda. Does anybody have any discussion about old business? Not, we'll move past that. And we're going to go into new business, which is the proposal for the auditing services. From, two offers have been made, one from Elgin Partman Fleming and Fleming PC, and the second from Mathis Weston Huffines, as you know, as our existing auditor. And I think Bert wants to speak to that.
So everybody will understand the reason for my choice and who I choose is, I brought Carrie in, even though she's not with the city anymore, I brought her in to see what she thought and the situation that we're in, and we're in a good situation. It's just we lost a great person that did a wonderful job as our finance director. Anyway, we got two proposals, one from who is has been our auditor for the last 3 years, Mathis Weston Huffines. We also have a proposal from Edgman, Parkman, Fleming, and Fleming. They're both very good. Both firms do multiple audits, and but given the fact that we're going to have a new finance director coming on staff and our familiarity with the people at Mathis Weston Huffines, I'm going to recommend that we stay with them at least for another year. I'm a big believer in changing auditors, and if Carrie would still been with us, I'd probably said no, let's change. But since she's not with us anymore, I think we need to stay with the horse that brought us, as it were, and do that. So it's up to y'all. We do whatever you want to do. The prices are within the same range, and so that's what I recommend.
So would you like to have any discussion on this?
I agree with Bert. I mean, I think we should stick with the same one. I mean, it would be nice to have a fresh set of eyes on it, but at this, point in time, when we've got a new finance director coming in, I don't think it's the right time to do it, so.
So can I have a motion to accept one or the other?
I'll make the motion to keep Mathis Weston Huffines.
Thank you, Ms. Higgins. Do I have a second?
Second.
Heffley? Bell?
Aye.
Heffley?
Aye.
Gunner?
Aye.
Bates? Love?
Aye.
And Higgins.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda, I put on the agenda, even though we can't make any changes, but we can hear some discussion, and I wanted to open it up to the public on the Richwood Hill Lakes Estate Park at Amon Carter Lake. I wanted to open the podium to anybody that had anything to say from the audience or anything from the council members. Do I have an audience member that would like to make any kind of comment? Yes, Ann, but you'd have to go to the podium.
I've never spoken before this council, so you'll have to indulge me.
Pull the
My name is
pull the
Ann-
microphone down just a little so it'll get you. There you go.
Okay. My name is Ann Smith. I do not live in the city of Bowie, so I do not have a voting voice. However, I know how to research. And I have looked long and hard at Proposition P. I've looked long and hard at Texas law. And I think I have an alternative, regardless of how P goes, whether it passes or not. I think that Local Government Code, Chapter 253, Section 11, which is conveyance to nonprofit corporation for public use. Okay, I'm going to read bits and pieces of this because I don't want to read the entire thing into the public record, but basically they define a nonprofit as a 501c3 corporation organization under the Internal Revenue Code. It does not apply to a municipality of a population of more than 1.9 million. A municipality may transfer to a nonprofit organization for consideration described by this section real property or an interest in real property without complying with the notice and bidding requirements of Section 272.001A or other law, which means that the first part of this chapter, where the citizens must permit the sale, does not apply. Let's see, consideration for the transfer is authorized. The parties must form an agreement, and it requires the nonprofit to use the property in a manner that primarily promotes a public purpose of the municipality. If the nonprofit fails to use the property in that manner, it reverts back to the city. Okay, there has to be an appropriate appropriate instrument of transfer, and it must include provisions that the property be used for public use. Indicates that the ownership will automatically revert back to the city. And this last piece, I thought, when I first read it, meant that the county also had to approve this. However, if the real property to be transferred lies outside the municipality's corporate limits and outside the county where 80% of the municipality's residents reside, then the county must also agree. But that doesn't apply here. So if I'm reading this right, and I'm not an attorney, it doesn't matter how P goes. The city can still convey this property to a nonprofit for public use, if they so choose.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for the research.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Did you want to? I thought you did.
Thank you for this opportunity. But I came here because we were informed that you wanted to discuss something with us regarding this park. Also.
I said that I was going to put it on the agenda to give you a public voice.
Okay. Well, then I'll take that opportunity.
Absolutely.
Again, thank you for the opportunity. Not sure why this is happening, because, again, I think most of us, all of us in the Richwood Hills Lake Estates feel like this is not fair and it's not right. I also have a question about how come the land in question, everything up in Richwood Hills Lake Estates is Richwood Hills Unit 1 and Unit 2. Unit 1 was, I think, established in 1962, and Unit 2 was established in 1963. But now, the survey for the 1.97 piece of land that's in question, now this comes up as Hillside subdivision. Now, where did that come from? The only
We didn't do
hillside-
that survey.
It has your name on it,
When was that survey done?
2019.
Okay. Well,
It has your name
We
on
didn't
it.
do it. Okay.
Yeah, this has your name on it. This has your name on it. It also says that this survey was done for the use of this, the intent of this plat is to create a tract for residential use on one
Did you order
side,
that?
and over here on this other side, it says, beginning, and designated here in Lot 1, Block 1, Hillside subdivision. And I went to the county, and the only hillside subdivision we have is off of 81. It's not anywhere near the lake, so I don't know where hillside subdivision came in on this, but this is, and again, this has your name all over it.
Well, that would have to come from the surveyor. That information would have to come from the surveyor.
Well, again, I don't know how he's getting it, because, in fact, when you look at the original plat, and when you go to the courthouse, of course, the original plat, it'll show you that there was never a survey done, actually, and I'm sure there was, but this is what Richwood looked like. It was Richwood 1 and Richwood 2, and I may have it just the opposite. But there was never a designation of any residential use, because this is basically primarily a flood zone.
Right.
I even have a letter from Kathy Woolsey, who was the daughter of Frank Woolsey, who was a developer for this company, and she said that unequivocally her father never intended, do you want me to read this to you? Her father never intended, I can have it notarized if you want.
But you're asking for her to make a statement on a piece of property they don't own, they didn't own.
Well, yes, at one time, yes, they did. Their father developed this
They
land.
developed Richwood, but they did
Not-
not develop the property we're talking about.
Yeah, no, it was all inclusive. All of that land was inclusive. There was,
No, that property we're talking about belonged to the city of Bowie. It was purchased for the construction of Lake A.M.G. Carter.
well, how could that one just be separate and not the land around it? Because I know you purchased the land for the lake, for the water.
Exactly, and that was part of the purchase of the lake
Well,
property.
can you, again, we're not finding a deed where that took place anywhere.
Go ahead, Ann. Hang on just a second.
There's a deed in 1962 where I think it was Woolsey and Richardson.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
The 1962 deed explicitly excludes the property in question by reference to the 1955 deed for the lake.
I
So
saw
it
that.
specifically excludes that piece, that little narrow strip of land. So anything that was mentioned in the 1955 deed is excluded from the 62 deed that established that whole area.
Would you have copies of that so I could see?
I don't have it with me, but I do have it at home.
Well, I would love to see that, because it's really hard to understand how that little area was excluded, because it's just,
Wasn't excluded. I need to get this real clear with you. It was not excluded. That property was purchased from the original landowners for the use of the construction of the lake. Richardson and Woolsey never owned that property. That was city property when we built the lake. It was just adjacent to the property they bought to do the Ridgewood Estate.
I just, when you look at this plot of land, it's just real hard to understand that that little 1.9 acres, that was actually in a flood zone, which was a park, and Vicki even said herself that she used to go there as a child, and her dad used to sell those lots, and they sold that lots because you actually had access to the water from that park area. And that's, all those lots were sold on that premise, that you also had egress and waterfront rights through that property. And it just makes common sense. What doesn't make sense to me is that little tiny tract of land was excluded.
So let me ask you this. When the city put the sign out there in 2012, when they were having trouble and citizens asked them to take more responsibility of that piece of property, that's when the park sign was put up, and that's when they started, they posted the rules. At that time, there didn't seem to be any question from anybody out there about whether or not the city owned it.
Well, no, because you didn't take it away from the public.
But now you're
trying-
questioning whether or not we actually own it.
Yeah, I'd like to, I think it's in everybody's mind. We'd like to see a deed.
I'd be happy to work with this.
Okay.
And I wish you would. I'd appreciate that.
I'm sorry, you didn't state your name for the record.
Patricia Cosa.
It was under the understanding with this council, the reason we put that on the ballot is for us to turn around and let you guys form an organization and take care of it, and let us lease it to y'all so you can have it, and you do whatever you want to out there. So I don't understand what's.
And I did make that statement at
I
two
don't
different
understand what the
meetings.
problem
Well, again,
is.
but you didn't make that statement tonight, which was kind of what I left the door open for you, and thank you for saying that, Jason.
Yes, ma'am.
But leasing, and when you say leasing,
We-
what are the dynamics and the parameters of that
Well, I've
lease?
talked to Che about that, and we went over that with you guys when y'all were here during those two meetings when y'all talked about it.
No, not in length, not.
Well,
not
no,
in-
ma'am, you're correct. We didn't go in length, but we told you guys if y'all would come up with an organization, kind of like similar to an HOA, we would turn around and just lease it. We have no intentions of selling that property. We want to turn it around and let you guys lease it and let y'all set your rules, let you guys have it, let you guys enjoy it. And I mean, we're the ones getting thrown into the mud here, and we have no dog in this fight. This is you guys, that's y'all's property. Y'all should be up here saying, hey,
Well,
you
you're
guys need to
right.
vote for.
That's
It's our
exactly-
property.
It-
Don't say
well,
it like that. It's our property.
Right. You guys need to come in there and say, hey, you need to vote for Proposition A so we can do this property the way we want it and get rid of all the people out there camping and doing drugs and drinking out there.
Okay.
I mean, that's the whole point of us doing this, is for you guys to come in here and enjoy it.
I would need to know what you're saying by lease. I need
Che,
to know
would you
the
mind
responsible.
refreshing her and let her know what you were telling me?
Who is the responsible party here if there's a lease?
Ms. Cosa, so as Mr. Love's saying,
If you guys as a whole want to have an organization and so forth and take responsibility for it, the city can lease this property to you guys and, you know, with a reversion in the lease agreement saying, once you're through with it or so forth, then it can revert back to the city. And was it, Ann, was that your name? Okay.
And Smith, yes, sir.
Ms. Smith, that's, you're on the right track as far as what you said a while ago. So under that particular property, or under that code, that is something that the city could do, is if you guys want to even develop a nonprofit, and that does have to be a 501c3, and if you have a nonprofit, and in that point in time, then we could, we being the city, could make a decision to transfer that to the nonprofit to use as a, but it has to be for nonprofit reasons and so forth. There's about 3 different exceptions, but that would probably be the one that would fit what you guys are looking for. But again, as that statute also says, it would revert back once that ceases to continue for nonprofit. So there's a couple of different ways that you guys can look at this, and like Mr. Love said, I mean, one, but you know, if you guys want to come together, but that seems to be the nucleus here that has to happen. There has to be you people, or you come together as a nucleus, as either through a 501c3 or some kind of collective agreement or so forth that the city can either lease to or transfer to via a nonprofit. So I mean, I think, as Mr. Love said, you know, there's opportunities here that can be taken, you know, that you guys can do to preserve and keep that land out there. It's just you have to work together to try to make that happen.
It's a big misconception that people on Facebook think that we want to sell that property. We do not want to sell that property. I'm not speaking for everybody, but I know I don't. Okay?
We never wanted to sell it.
And that
We
is
wanted
never,
you to
we've
lease
never
it.
said that. If they would attend a council meeting and listen to what we're saying, or at least watch it on video, we have never, ever said we're wanting to sell that property. So you guys need to back Proposition A so you guys can take the property on your
Proposition
own.
P. P.
P, I said P. Proposition P, and take it underneath your wing and go with it. That's the whole point of this.
Okay, I got 2 other people that want to speak too.
I just have a question, because I was at one of the meetings, I guess it was the second reading, that it was, y'all were requesting to put it on the ballot, and it was mentioned after the fact that we could possibly lease it, but is that a guarantee? Are you gonna guarantee?
With me, it is.
We
I can't
never
speak
wanted
for
to
them.
sell it. That was never our goal to sell it. Our goal was to take it off of our list of things to maintain. Most people didn't even know it existed. It's become very popular now, but even if you were to, and I think I said this exactly, form a neighborhood organization.
You did
So-
mention that yesterday.
Yes, I did, from day one, so that you could lease it and then you could maintain the park the way you wanted to. The only thing that I have learned since then is that if you do form that organization, which has to be a nonprofit, we've said that from the beginning, you have to leave it as a public park. So that is your, so that was our full intent too. We just wanted somebody else to want to take care of it. We don't want to take care of it.
So then regardless of what.
Yeah, we will do it anyway, but when you say lease, when,
Picking up the trash.
I'm sorry.
We have maintained that part of the community.
I can show you pictures.
And we have maintained the complaints.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the
And
reason we wanted-
I apologize because.
That's the reason we wanted somebody that really wanted the organization, really wanted the piece of property to stay as a park, to want to take care of it. But even if we were to sell it to you, the value can't be more than $10. My goodness, I know there's a lot of conversation out there that the county has it on the tax rolls for $180,000. Who in their right mind would pay that kind of money?
Well,
So
thank you.
even-
That's what we were questioning
Well,
too.
and so if we put it on the ballot for Proposition P and allows us to sell it, then maybe they do come to us and offer us $10 and they own it in perpetuity, and then we don't have to take care of it. Did that answer your question? You asked why it was on the ballot. It gave us more opportunities to do something with it. That is one of the reasons we went to the ballot. We never looked to sell it to make a fortune out of. But we have to have that ability. If you had been here, you would have seen that was our conversation, that we wanted to lease it to them.
Well, that was,
We wanted more than one option, either to lease and or to sell. But the conversation where it went crazy was that somebody thought we wanted to make hundreds of thousands of dollars off of a piece of flood property. That was never our goal. That was never the council's goal to do that.
Absolutely not.
I can assure you right now, as a council person, if I lived out there in that area, I would feel the same way that you did as far,
you.
as far as wanting the use of the property and things. Really, to be, the intention for me from the beginning when we discussed this was basically what we're discussing right now, the way I understood it was at the time, that we had to do a proposition in order to make that happen for you guys, or whoever, you know, to make it work, because it's more valuable to the people that live there than anyone else, basically, even though the public can use it. But, you know, I could understand being there. My intent was never been, I want to leave it up to y'all what y'all wanted to do. And, you know, they're always saying, we want to have a voice. We want to give you one.
Your option for, if we put it on the ballot and you were to actually purchase it, you can do with it then what you want to do with it. You can make it a private park. If you lease it, that won't be the opportunity. So you still putting it on the ballot gave many opportunities on how to deal with this piece of property.
So why would that community want to lease that park?
I don't know. You'd have to ask that community.
Want to lease it for use for any public.
Well, if they lease it, it could be a public park. If they opt to buy
It has
then
to
it's
be,
their own private
yeah,
park.
if they
That'd be
lease
the
it, it has
difference.
to be a public park.
Right.
I have a question. I know that in order to sell the property, Texas law requires the council to come to the citizens and ask for.
Yes.
That's correct.
Is that also true if it's leased?
I don't think this is,
That's-
after
that's-
my research, I don't think we could pretty much do anything with it, unless we put it on the ballot
Okay,
to
except-
be able to
except
do
that-
anything else with it, because it was designated a public park.
Okay,
You can't sell parkland without putting it on the ballot.
okay, but can you lease parkland without?
I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, ask him.
That's,
Jay, it's all you, buddy.
Yes, I mean, that's the other option, like I just said, there's a couple different options we could do, and that would be one option we could do, is we could, lease it, but just, it would have to be, again, it'd be for the purpose of being a park, and again, it would have some type of reversionary language in that lease that it would revert back to the city if at any point in time it was not used for that intent and purpose.
so let me clarify. If it's leased to a
But-
homeowners association.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing I was gonna say, it needs to be some type of group, it can't be leased to an individual or
Right.
something like that.
So if it's leased to a homeowners association, or purchased by that homeowners association, then he is required to do either one of those two.
In order to sell,
Yes.
we have to, yes.
Okay, but to lease, that's my question, because 253, section 11 says if it's a nonprofit, then the city doesn't have
That
to
is-
ask anybody.
That is correct. So under that 25311, then at that point in time, it can be used as long as it's to a nonprofit, and we don't have to go through to the voters for permission to sell.
Yeah, so what I'm getting at here is that in order to lease to a homeowners association or have that homeowners association purchase the property, he is required.
You're asking a two-part question.
So-
To sell it, we need P. To lease it, the city does not need the citizens' approval to lease it.
As long as it's to a to a 501c3.
So if
As
they
long as
lease
it's
it to
to
the
a
homeowners
nonprofit, that's
association, if they lease it, they don't need our permission.
But unless it's not a nonprofit. If it's not a nonprofit,
It is a nonprofit, and the homeowners association is never a for-profit.
is it a 501c3?
No, I'm not saying they have to make it that,
Yeah.
Does it have to be a 501c3?
Yes.
Yes.
And they have to go to
Yes.
the
Yes,
IRS
Shant.
to get that approved.
Yes, you do.
Is that something that the city attorney would be willing to help?
I can't do that because then I'm kind of,
That's a conflict of
that's a
interest.
conflict of interest from, yeah.
But you could guide us to some of these.
Now, and when you, if it's not on get a mouthful here, Proposition P did not pass, and it was leased to a nonprofit organization that you put together, it would be forced to stay as a public park, and so anybody could use it just like they do now. If it passed on Proposition P and you bought it, you could make it a private park for Richwood Hills Estates. These are your options. But before you know what all of your options are, the city has to have the right to sell it. And the only way we can get that right is to go to the ballot.
So if we did lease it, and we had to allow the public to use it, then are we the ones have that absorb all the liability for that? Or in the leasing, is it just for maintaining it?
Your lease would be for, well, you go ahead and answer that, Jay.
Yeah, once, if it's conveyed to you in regards to a lease, then you guys would be, the 501c3 would be responsible for the upkeep as well as the liability on the property.
Even though we have to allow the public to use it?
Well, again, the statute talks about just for nonprofit use, so it doesn't say either or. It just says as long as it's for a nonprofit use, so.
So it doesn't have to be public? Because you hear the mayor said 4 times it must remain a public park.
Well,
That's a huge.
If it's leased,
yeah,
Right, if it's leased to a nonprofit,
So-
but you're saying the statute doesn't say whether it's private or public.
yes, it does,
yeah,
It has to remain public.
yeah,
Public,
5 times now.
if it's leased.
yeah.
If it's transferred under that term.
It's still.
Leased or conveyed under that, so.
Conveyed.
Right,
It has to-
under that, but if we.
I'm sorry.
Does the city require it to go to the public
So-
to lease?
Barbara would like for people to go to the podium so she can hear them better if you want to have a conversation about this.
There's like 3 people talking.
3 people talking and we can't get a conversation. So does anybody else want to go to the podium to discuss this?
I just want a clarification. So to lease it, if you're leasing it back, Proposition P says nothing about leasing, not one word about a lease. It says, we're asking permission to sell it, period. Doesn't say we're asking permission to lease it. So you're telling me that you need the citizens' permission to lease it?
No,
Okay.
not
so-
under the statute. As long
Okay.
as it's a 501c3.
Wait a minute, I'm talking about outside of the 501c.
Okay, then yet, if it's not a 501c3.
Okay, so
then
Proposition
it
P doesn't say, can we lease it?
You
So
can-
how do you, so you're saying we have to go back to the citizens? Proposition P fails, but we want to lease it to them. We have to go back to the citizens and ask
No, it has to
permission?
be to a nonprofit. So anyway, if it's going to be conveyed to anyone under one of the exceptions, it has to be to a nonprofit.
Forget the exception.
No,
Let's
that's
go
the one.
outside the exception. I'm not talking about the exception. I'm talking about P as it stands right now. It's not for a nonprofit. We are asking the citizens under P to allow us to sell the park.
Okay,
Doesn't matter who to. If under P, it doesn't say we want to lease the park. So do we need, let's say P fails.
Okay.
But we want as citizens to lease it to a homeowners association, which may not qualify for a 501c3. That's a difficult designation for a homeowners association to maintain. So we want to lease it to that park, to Richwood Hills. We have to go back to the citizens? The city has to go back to the citizens and ask permission to lease it? Or they can lease it without the citizens' permission? Because
They can
that's the
only-
way I read it.
no, they can only do it as long as it's conveyed to a 501c3. That's the only way that they can do that. It's either.
Without citizen approval.
Correct,
So right now, P says we want to sell it.
correct.
If we decide we want to lease it, do we have to go back and ask the citizens?
Who's we?
The citizens, the people.
Okay, well, right now, I believe the ownership belongs to the city, so what
Okay,
is, so,
so the city wants to lease it. P fails, and the city wants to lease it. They have to, just wait a minute, they have to put it back on a ballot and ask permission to lease it.
no, then at that point, that's the only exception. The only thing they can do is they can either, if they want to get rid of it, they can either sell it, or they can convey it or lease it to a nonprofit.
So they can't lease it to a not nonprofit under
Correct.
any terms, under any circumstance.
No, not that I'm aware of, no.
So, no, he's just saying no. You're saying is there a way that we can lease it to them without it being a nonprofit in any circumstance? P doesn't say lease. It only gives permission to sell.
Texas law is cloudy. Texas law is cloudy on this issue.
Well,
Wait,
she's
I'm-
saying if P didn't pass.
If P doesn't pass,
If P does not pass, then the only thing that they can do at that point in time is then they can, as I've stated over and over and over, is they can convey it or lease it to a nonprofit.
okay, but
But you keep saying if P doesn't pass.
Right, so if P passes, you're saying that P gives us permission to lease it?
Yes.
Because
If
P
it-
doesn't say that,
Well, P passes, that gives the city permission to sell.
do
it.
anything, right, to sell it.
Yeah.
What
It
about
doesn't
leasing
limit
it?
us to selling
Yeah.
it.
How can it not limit you? You're not asking to lease it. Proposition P
asking to be able to
clearly says.
dispose of it.
Yes, to
We can
dispose of it, to
dispose of
sell
in
it.
a couple of different ways.
It says sell.
Lease it or sell it.
It doesn't say that. Proposition P does not say that.
So what if
I would-
somebody out there wanted to buy it for their own personal use?
Right, that's what we're saying. That's what they're wanting to avoid. They're wanting to avoid someone buying it for their own personal use. So are most of the citizens. But if you can lease it without taking it back to the ballot, that matters.
It won't
But
have
you-
to go back to the ballot as long as it's being leased to a nonprofit 501c3.
I know, but a homeowners association to carry that designation would be difficult. A 501c3, it says 3? Yeah, I mean, it would be very difficult for a homeowners
It's actually not.
association.
It's actually not.
It's not that difficult. The BMX bike park started their own 501c3.
So if P fails, then they can lease it to a homeowners
Your
association.
501c3.
If he passes, they can lease it to a
Yeah.
501c.
Yeah, a
Or they can-
501
Right, but you can also sell it to anyone you want at that
No,
point.
That's
true.
not our goal.
Not true, actually.
I know.
Hang on a second.
Why do
But
you,
you could-
why do you
you-
question our
you-
intent when we're
you-
trying to give them this piece of property to use the way they want to use it?
As you can see, you could have done that without putting P on the ballot. Obviously, you didn't research how you could have done it. You're
We
your
wanted
own-
multiple,
your own
we
cheerleader
wanted
here.
multiple,
Options.
excuse me?
That
That was
my
uncalled
question.
for.
Yeah.
What?
Tony, that was my question, Jay, to you, was if P passes, then it can be sold or leased.
Yes.
And it does not have to be to a nonprofit.
Correct.
But
That
if
is
P
correct.
doesn't pass and they form a 501c3, you can still lease it to them
Correct.
or give it to them.
They can, however they, yeah.
Right, if
Yeah,
they want it.
If they
Yeah.
want, yes.
Has everybody had their say?
Well, it hasn't been a pleasant experience for any of us on either side. I would just request that, since you said your intent was never to sell, because you left it really wide open when you put that Proposition P out there. I wish that I wish that it would have been nice if you'd come to the residents of Richwood Hills and said, you know, we need to do something, you know, but nothing was given us that opportunity. But I am asking for the opportunity, if your intent is not to sell to anybody, that regardless of whether or not this passes, and I think you understand that a lot of people have a lot of feelings for this little park, because it's it's kind of unknown, but those that know it really love it. And it's just a little piece of, you know, and again, I've talked to lawyers, and they're saying a city is getting rid of a waterfront park, and they just don't understand it, because, again, our growth is coming. As you can see it coming down 287, it's coming. And, you know, we're not going to stay small forever. And once you privatize land like that, you're not going to ever get it back. So I would request that the residents of Richwood Hills be given the honor of having first option to buy that. And I don't know that, and I'll tell you right now, I don't know that it would stay public as much as I'd love for it to be, because there's so many people, I don't care where you're at in town, when you're talking to somebody, oh, my daughter loves that place, they go there all the time. I was at Cricket Phone, and the lady goes behind the counter, man, we love that little place. And some people from Richwood Hills were up there the other day, and they love just putting their little boat in there. And it's just like, it would be so wonderful, you would give us the honor to be able to buy this first.
Well, when we see how this turns out, maybe there's a way to find out that it doesn't have to be a homeowners association. Maybe it can just be a park association that's a 501c3. It doesn't have to be a homeowners association to do this. Let us explore all avenues in this.
Thank
We're
you.
not planning on doing this November the 3rd. We really want to make sure that people are included on this decision and that people understand. But if you're going to do this and you don't want it privatized because we're growing, then that's going to have to be something that you have to decide if y'all purchase it, whether or not you want to
Well,
privatize it.
and the reason I wouldn't want it privatized, I would be, and every resident up there already has said, we'll take care of it, we'll clean it, we'll maintain it, which you've done already, you know. We laid the boat dock, the picnic tables, the barbecues that are no longer existent because nothing's been maintained, and I can show you pictures. It's really almost embarrassing the way it is. And we've gone up there and weed eated to get in there. And here, I do owe you a thank you. In the last couple months, man, it is almost friggin' pristine. It's unbelievably nice how somebody's maintained it. And it's better than it ever has been, because there's an 8-foot fence beside it, and grass was 5 feet tall. So thank you, you've really done
Well,
a great job.
I want you to know that that's not because of us. We may have brought some attention to your park, but that's because of your neighborhood. So somebody in your area is maintaining that.
Well, I have to find them, and thank you.
I don't want us getting
Yeah.
for credit for something we didn't do.
Well, thank you. And who's ever doing that, man, I really appreciate them. Just like I appreciate y'all beautifying our city. It makes a lot of difference in the way people see us. So I would just ask that the citizens and residents of Amery Carter, Richwood Hill Lake Estates, and that's why it says Richwood Hill Lake Estates, is because we were on the water, not at the water. We were on the water.
Well,
So
I
we would
promise
like-
you that no fast, knee-jerk decisions will be made. Well,
Thank you.
I think I can promise you that this council will not make any knee-jerk decisions.
Okay.
And we'll bring you back in to talk about what we can do.
Okay, and I don't want to privatize it, I don't, but again, I can't expect every resident up there to sign on for the liability of the public. I mean, give me a break.
Absolutely.
I mean, who can do that? We can't.
That-
So
Let
if,
me add one thing. That's the purpose of the 501c3. You know, then you're limited to the liability of the 501c3, whatever
oh,
it
is
has,
that
for
where
whatever it
the
has.
liability comes in? Oh, okay.
So,
Well, I mean, we'll take it to vote, and you know, and again, when you were saying lease, I needed to know more about it. We all did need to know the definition of what you were saying, lease, and everything that it involved. So thank you for a better description of it. And again, thank you for consideration, because hassle, we don't want hassle. You know, and I'm sorry for any hassle we've caused anybody else. We just, you know, thank you for allowing us to have a voice. But, you know, thank you for being here working with us. But
Can I make
it's
a
just
suggestion? Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, sir.
Because I don't post I never post anything negative on Facebook, ever. But when there's a situation like this, instead of all the people getting together and discussing all the options and all the answers and everything like that, I would appreciate if you just come to make an appointment, I'll come to you or whatever, that we could sit down and talk about things so it doesn't get out of hand. I mean, my intent was, I'd be for you guys, as far as that goes. But,
Thank you.
we have a way that we need to do business sometimes, but sometimes we need to sit down. I've not one time had anybody come to my office and sit down and want to talk to me about any issues. If I want to find out about what's going on with the city, I just look on Facebook and they'll tell me. So I would appreciate it, and I promise you.
Sad but true, right?
It is.
The city manager did say this came up because someone approached him about buying.
Yeah, now, Bert, you did say
That's
that.
not the only reason it came
I mean,
up.
it's on 2 prior council meetings.
That's
and
not
it's in
the only
newspaper.
reason it came up.
Well,
It came
that's
up
what you
because
said.
I would go out there and look at it and see that there were drug needles on the ground. It was not being taken care of.
I mean,
And it was our
I
responsibility.
go out there all the time.
Okay, I want to move on if we, yes, Dylan, quickly. Quickly.
Excuse me, ma'am. I just want to say, and I'm saying it at this podium so that it's a matter of public record. Ma'am, I did not even know about that park until all this started coming up, but I went out there to check it out. I totally get it, why y'all want it. And as one of the co-founders of Bob and a member of the Parks Board, I am publicly saying right now, no matter how Proposition P gets on the ballot, you need some help, I'll put some blood, sweat, and tears into it, just like I have other parks in this town. And if it comes down to y'all having to file for a 501c3 to get an association going or whatever, you can bet I'll dip into my wallet to help you. I will help y'all no matter how it goes at the ballot box.
Thank you, Dylan. Okay, if that's all for that, we're going to move on. We have two more items on the next two items on the agenda are 4 and 5 to amend the personnel policy by adding section 116, paid quarantine leave, and amend personnel policy by adding section 117, officer mental health leave. And Stoney is going to come up and explain to you these two additions.
Hey, y'all. Basically, what these two policies entail are the Texas House passed Bill 2073 and Bill 1359, requiring us to adopt a policy that provides paid quarantine leave for firefighters, peace officers, detention officers, and emergency medical technicians. So that's what we did in that policy. The 1359 required us to adopt a policy for officer mental health leave, and we've accomplished both of those in both these policies. Any questions?
They were
Stoney, so
lengthy,
this
but-
basically just brings us into compliance with the recent Texas legislature.
Yes, ma'am.
Then I'll make the recommendation that we approve both these policies.
Okay, we got to do them individually.
Oh,
I know, it sucks. Do 116, you making a motion to?
I will make the motion to approve 116, then, yes.
Diana Higgins makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Who wants it? Love? All right. Heffley.
Aye.
Gunner.
Aye.
Love.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Bell.
Aye.
And Higgins.
Aye.
The next one is 117. Do I have a motion to accept section 117, officer mental health leave?
So moved.
Gunner, do I have a second? Second. Who said that? Bates. Higgins.
Aye.
Bell.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Love.
Aye.
Gunner.
Aye.
And Heffley. Well, that was easy. All right, now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stoney.
Thanks, Tony. Tony and Kerry put this together, so pat you on himself on the back. Good job.
All right, so the next item on the next several items on the agenda are from the planning and zoning. Mr. Calabretta, going to bring this to us?
Do you want them one at a time?
Yes, sir, we have to accept them one at a time.
All right. On October 21st, 2021, the Planning and Zoning Commission met. All members were present.
It's too
Microphone. Where is this thing? Okay, there it is. All right. So October 21st, 2021, Planning and Zoning Commission met. All members were present, and we made these considerations. The first one, a request from Wendell Robbins to replat a part of J.C. Cummings survey, abstract number 1211, and T.E.N.L. survey number 3421, abstract number 815, creating Lot 1, Block 1, Ace Hardware subdivision. And our recommendation is that the council would approve that. What we were doing there is these two properties were owned and making them one property so that the setbacks were conducive to being able to be built the way he wants to build it. It also gave the city right-of-ways for sewer that are on that. If you have a map there of it, you can see that kind of thing. So it really is to clean it up and make it so that he doesn't have restrictions on setback for building the new building.
Anybody have any questions? So I would like to entertain a motion to consider P&Z's recommendation on request from Wendell Robbins.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so I'm going with Bell because that's what I started writing. Heffley?
Aye.
Gunner?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Bates?
Aye.
Higgins?
Aye.
And Bell?
Okay, the second consideration we made was a request from Kenson Vance, the dynamic duo, to replat a portion of lots 2, 3, and 4, Block 24, original town of Bluey, creating lots 2R1, 2R2, 2R3, 2R4, 2R5, and 2R6, Block 24, original town of Bowie. And we did approve that, and again, this was taking some property and making it so that they can, build some more of the tiny houses. The property will be accessed from Jones Street, and we'll have a common shared driveway for all of those properties.
That's over on 59, next to the old Mine and Yours feed store. So
Right.
it'll be a pretty cool little addition to the city. So I would entertain a motion to consider the P and Z recommendation on request from Kenson Vance, and I've got to state this because there's more than one, to replat portions lot 2, 3, and 4, Block 24 of the original town of Bowie, creating lots 2R1, 2R2, 2R3, 2R4, 2R5, 2R6, Block 24 of the original town of Bowie.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Heffley. Do I have a second?
Second.
Bates? Gunner?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Higgins?
Aye.
Bell?
Aye.
Heffley?
Aye.
And Bates.
All right, we had a second request from the dynamic duo to replat portions of lots 5 and 6, Block 11, Lindsay Edition, creating lots 5R and 6R, Block 11, Lindsay Edition. And this particular property and the reason for it was that on your map, the little triangular part was quite small, so they're just moving the line to give that lot a little bit more room. And again, they're going to be building some of those tiny houses on those. But it's just moving a lot line is all that's being done in this particular property.
So these are actually on Cowan Street, if you got a chance to go by and look at them. They're set, and like Mr. Calabretta said, one lot was just a little too small, so they just gave the other one a little bit of land. It's also from Kenson Vance. It's got 2 little tiny homes on it. Looks pretty good. I believe it's on your street, Dylan, into your street. So I will entertain a motion to consider P and Z recommendation on request from Kenson Vance Dynamic Duo to replat a portion of lots 5 and 6, Block 11, Lindsay Edition, creating lots 5R and 6R, Block 11, Lindsay Edition. Do I have a motion to accept?
I make a motion.
Ms. Bates? Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Love? Gunner?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Higgins?
Aye.
Bell?
Aye.
Heffley?
Aye.
Bates?
All right. We had another consideration for a request from Kevin Jones to replat Lot 13, Block 2, Raymond subdivision, creating lots 13, 14, and 15, Block 2, Raymond subdivision. And so they're taking a piece of property and making it into 3 lots. The one lot, Lot 13, that they're trying to make would be inaccessible from Small Street because of the creek that runs through there. So now this division will make the ability to have a house on that lot from Cooper Street, Lot 15 also from Cooper Street, and then Lot 14 from Small Street. And so they're, and this is, by the way, in a residential zoned area, so the houses have to be a minimum of 1,000 square feet. So that's what's being done here. There was some question about the alley that's on the map. It was abandoned years and years and years ago, so there's no question about that. And there is some buildings on the property, but they're in such disrepair that they're going to be torn down. So
Bill, did the alley used to go through lot 13?
What was that
Did the
about?
alley used to go through lot 13, through the back
Well,
lot?
apparently years and years and years ago, but not anything in recent time. It has always ended there at this, you know, in any of
Yes,
the
sir.
things that we have.
Okay.
There's no utilities or anything in that old alley?
I'm sorry, ma'am?
There are no utilities or anything in that old alley?
No.
So, interesting fact. The property line has a garage built right over the middle of it. So that was the first thing I saw when we went out to look at it. But he's right, it's an old dilapidated building, and so it takes a building off that's very sour looking in the area, and it gives us the possibility of 3 nice new little houses on that street. So I would consider a motion to consider the P&Z recommendation on request from Kevin Jones to replat Lot 13, Block 2, Raymond Division, creating lots 13, 14, and 15, Block 2, Raymond Division.
I'll make a motion to pass as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Love. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Heffley? Oh, excuse me, Higgins? It's that time of night. Gunner?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Bates? Heffley?
Aye.
Higgins?
Aye.
Bell?
Aye.
Okay,
All right,
we
and
have
the
one more.
last consideration that we made and passed was for the property that's owned by Tiffany Chagan, I believe. The lots 7, 8, and 9 revised Oak Lawn addition, creating Lot R revised Oak Lawn addition. So they already have a building there, they own all the property, they just want to make it all one. If you notice on the map that you have, the one property line goes up their driveway and through the wood shed that's there. So this would make it so that they can utilize the property a lot more efficiently than what they have. So it's just creating one property out of the 3 that they already own.
So, like he said, there's another one of those with the property line, with the buildings built right over the property line. And the setback rules, I mean, this has really been a cleanup process for the planning and zoning. So once you take away the interior property lines, and the setback rules are so much easier for them to abide by. So on this one, we would consider a P&Z recommendation on request from Tiffany Chagnon to replat Lot 7, 8, 9, revised Oak Lawn addition, creating Lot 7R, revised Oak Lawn addition.
So moved.
Higgins?
Okay.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Bell? Higgins?
Aye.
Heffley?
Aye.
Gunner?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Bates?
Aye.
And Bell? Thank you very much.
Thank you, council.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is a resolution for repayment of opioid-related expenditures and payment to abate opioid-related harms. I'm sure you noticed the rather lengthy document in your packet. Bert, would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, I sent through 2 presentations from the Texas Attorney General's office, and the Texas Attorney General's office came to a consensus with the opioid manufacturers agreement where they would put out money for all communities in Texas, and our amount, I'm trying to find it right now on my computer, came to $83,000. At first, I said, I don't think we could spend $83,000 for opioid use, and then I talked with Kirk and I talked with Doug about it, and we considered it, but basically, I sent through the second presentation from the Texas Attorney General's office, and they told me, said, if you have problems figuring out how to legally spend this money, and they handed me their business card and said, call me, because we'll work through it for you, or with you, and figure out how to spend it. Now, we have some opportunities to use the money. We just gotta have to tell them what we think they are, and let them tell us whether they're legal or not. And I probably would go to the Texas Attorney General's office and ask them first to tell me what's legal and what's not legal. So that's why I brought this up, is because I think that we can, get some money this way to be used in a good way to help some local process. And it's not all tied to opioid, tied to the medical community, so if you kind of get my drift, so. But anyway, the amount, I finally counted here, our amount is $83,620, so. And we'll be able to use that healthcare some way or another. Anyway, I recommend passing of this.
Yeah, we have to pass the resolution.
Resolution.
So I would entertain a motion to pass Resolution 2021-23, a resolution for repayment of opioid-related expenditures and a payment to abate opioid-related harms.
Did you say 23 or 33?
33?
Okay.
I don't know what I said, but it says
I just wanna make sure we
33
got
in
it.
front of me.
I just want to make sure we got it right, because I thought you said 23.
Do I have a
36.
motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Higgins?
Aye.
Bell?
Aye.
Bates?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Gunner?
Aye.
And Heffley?
Aye.
Okay, so, council members, there's a document here you have to sign, so please do not leave without signing that document. And the next item on the agenda is to approve the 2021 tax roll. Bert, would you also like to speak to that?
What?
The tax roll?
We're approving the tax rolls for the year. That's basically all it is.
There, yeah, the document is in your packet from the county. I'm trying to get to page 89 to find it. It's the last pages of your packet. It's got the property values,
Yes.
we estimated property values, receipts.
Based on your forms there, you'll see that the total market value is $407,283,332. And our estimated collections are $1,907,746.50, which is the same, using the same tax rate as we had last year and the year before.
Yeah. So, I've got to figure out the wording on this. Oh, there's no wording, we just have to approve it. So we just have to approve the 2021 tax roll, but we don't even do that by a vote, do we? Because I didn't get it. We got it. So do I have a motion to accept and approve the 2021 tax roll?
So moved.
Higgins, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Love? Heffley?
Aye.
Gunner?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Higgins?
Aye.
Bell? Bates?
Aye.
And that's also a document you have to sign. Please don't leave without signing it. Love. So the last item on the agenda is public comments. Anybody would like to go to the podium for any more public comments?
You're gonna get tired of hearing me. This is my last for tonight, anyway. I just wanted to say, in an unkind world and unkind society, and sometimes, as you know, unkind social media, which I don't indulge in too much anyway myself. I guess how all the controversy got out of hand was because it was peppered in there that we could lease it, but again, we didn't know the definition of that. And I guess because maybe y'all didn't come to us, which, you know, you have every right to do what you do because you do it a lot better than what we do, but, you know, maybe we weren't vocal enough up front to y'all either about y'all not coming to us and asking us what we could do to help you with the park. But thank you. I think we see a light at the end of the tunnel, and we do appreciate that very much. And thank you for working with us, because we certainly want to work with y'all, because we want to make your job easier. And we really appreciate it, guys.
Well,
My understanding initially, from when I did my initial research, that the only thing that we could do, the only way we could do anything with that park, sell it, lease it, whatever, was to put it on the ballot.
Yeah, you said that.
And, you know, the law was vague. I mean, that was, just came right straight out of the code, and I just picked up on it and said, you know, that's the way we have to do it, so.
You're right, I looked it up. That's exactly what it said you had to do by government law.
thank you for coming tonight.
But you can tell from us that you can kind of feel from us, we don't want to
Honestly,
sell it.
guys, I honestly felt a sincerity here tonight.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And it really, I can walk out here with a smile on my face, and I think everybody else here came as representation, because they, you know, you just feel like you do want to work with us, and we appreciate that.
We absolutely do.
But I can never force everybody up there to take on the liability of the public, because, I mean, that, you know, that's it ain't happening. But thank you again
Thank
for
you.
working with us.
But you have my support 100% to get the park back for
Well,
you
thank
guys.
you,
So
Jason,
just let
thank you.
know.
And I feel like that's true of a lot of people here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You sound like something.
So if that's it, then I will adjourn the meeting at 7:45.
One was for the tax roll, one was for the opioid thing. I tangled with a ladder over the weekend, and dumb neighbor probably